Hello, hi everyone, Kelvin here from London. I review all types of hi-fi equipment, old and new. And I'm just trying to bring you the truth about hi-fi. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. It's not a simple game, unfortunately. Okay, gonna talk today about this thing. Why can't I get the sound I want? Why does it go on and on? Is it fantasy? Is it reality? Is it psychological? Is it physical? Okay, so we're going to take a deep dive into this subject. Okay, first thing I want to say is beware of people like me and other people, yes, who are going to paint an audio picture in your imagination that sounds so good, sounds so incredible, right? That you're just going to go, oh my God, I've got to have that. I want that. Because there are probably limitations to the reality that aren't there when it's all in your imagination. Let me just do a funny analogy, if you like. I used to make stained glass windows, yes? And people would come in my studio and they'd say, oh, I've got this idea for a stained glass window. It's got the sun and the moon and a spaceship and a volcano and my auntie and a boat. All this stuff, yeah? And I go, yeah, okay. Thinking, this isn't real. This can't be done. Or not in a little space or whatever. And I would say to them, here's a pen and paper. Just draw me very roughly what this looks like. And they go, they just draw a few funny lines, right? Because it wasn't possible, because it wasn't real, because to go from the imagination to reality didn't work out. So I say that as a to expand on the point of the difference between your imagination and what really happens. So in the real world, we have limitations, I guess you'd call it, So the limitations will be the room you have. How big is it? Certain great sounds are hard to get in smaller rooms. In a smaller, put simply, smaller rooms, you're okay with smaller speakers. Yes? And then the ultimate sound is going to be in a big room with a big pair of speakers. And now, to me, to get, in your fantasy world of what's a great sound, bass you can feel and follow. So when the bass drum goes boom, 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 you get a little hit in your body and you can feel the string of the bass guitar. That's nice, that's what you want. But I don't think you ever get that out of a cone this big. To me, it's got 8 or 10 inches is what you want, because you need to move air. A paper cone is nice as well. But anyway, point is, you're probably only going to get bass you can feel and follow in detail, which is a hard thing to get in the world of hi-fi, out of a big speaker that's pretty damn good and some classy amplification. So your room might be the thing that's changing your possibilities. Or you might be like me and you just can't bring yourself to spend enough money. This is probably worth talking about too, because, they're always talking about the giant killer, speakers, amps, whatever. And there might be things that are really quite good for the price. It's never good as a good big one is better than a good small one. And we all want to imagine, it's like a fantasy, isn't it? It's like the Holy Grail, a speaker this big that delivers everything, including bass. Well, I haven't experienced one. If you've got one, if you know what it is, tell me about it. But I can't see how it comes out of a cone that's 4 or 5 inches big. No matter how many watts, you're still only moving that much air and something coming out of the port. So, point is, let's be realistic, what you can get out of a small speaker. Okay, I'm going to go into a more deeper, madder psychological aspect here. And, you know, I'm not certain of this, so tell me what you think. When you're a teenager, or no, let me do it this way. Sometimes I think what's going on is we, or me, I'm trying to recreate an excitement that came from actually when I was 18. Because sometimes when I hear records, maybe a record that hasn't been played on the radio, but I hear that record and I haven't heard it for, you know, 40 years, I can smell it, taste it, feel it. It has so much emotional, you know, so many emotions around it, so much texture, reality. I can just like smell it, you know. And it's only records that I heard or came out that I heard, say between 15 and 20, because something strange, or, you know, things go in deeper at that point in time. So I'm wondering, is that what's going on? Are we, or me, trying to create something that actually is just from a different state of mind? I mean, I don't actually think that is maybe slightly true, but I get some great sounds here. So, you know, I can get great sounds. Okay, but there's a possibility that things are working like that. The other thing I want to say about is, if your sound is really nearly perfect, or you're thinking it's really good, but just a tiny bit not happy, just a tiny bit away from nirvana, try tweaking everything. Move those speakers. Speakers go wider, narrower, backwards, forwards. You lift them up, take them down. You can even tilt them. You can play around with cables. The point I'm making is, you might actually be able to get what you want, and it might be there. And some people, I think, they think that moving speakers is a bit of a cheat. It's not like proper. But I mean, I don't, and not to me. If it's making the good sound, I don't care if it's because I've put the speakers against the wall or whatever it is, you know. And cables, you know, cables can tweak sounds a little bit. So the point I'm making is, you might have it and a product isn't what you need. Because if you keep buying new products, thinking, oh, I need that amp, I need those speakers, you never get on top of understanding what you've got. So if you're near to getting it good, I would tweak everything, even the seating position, everything you can think of. I made videos, loads of videos on tips and tweaking things, but you know, you could be right close to it and you don't want to miss it. So the other thing that's going to stop you getting the great sound, what are the limitations? Is it the room? Is it money? It could be you're just not spending enough money. But in which case, you know, you can more or less buy loads of equipment now and you can send it back. So I would get it, play it, and keep my old one. Don't get rid of the old one before you get the new one. Have them both, because you don't know whether the old one might just be better. You just don't know. I wouldn't trust anyone on this, yeah? I'll always keep the old one, play the new one, and let it take a week. Play the new one, play the old one, couple of days. Make sure you know. Make sure you know, and make sure you know the qualities of those things, because that's how you make progress, by understanding those things. So, you know, I would say, you know, aim for the stars. To get to the top of Mount Everest, if you're listening to records or whatever, and you're not thinking about the stereo, I think that's won. You've won the battle. And also the other point that I was going to mention was, watch out that you don't let your intellect or the words you're hearing override your gut feeling. If it feels good, you know, you could easily read stuff and think, oh, it could be much better. But you might be just being limited by your room. And there's nothing you can do about that, you know. Anyway, it's a lot more questions than answered in this thing. I mean, I have had the best sounds I've ever had is when I just went mad tweaking things. When I wired the wires into the crossover, played around endlessly with positioning. I had a fantastic sounds out of Kef concertos. It was one of the best sounds I ever had. And that had bass you could really feel, that big bass driver. So, you know, tweaking is everything. Let me just say, I forgot. See these speaker stands here? Hang on. Bowers and Wilkins speaker stands. Now, I was just got these about 2 weeks ago, second hand. They don't, I didn't take those off. There's be spikes under those, and there should be spikes in the top, but they didn't have them. But I bought them second hand. But these are like £250 new. And I was playing music, and I was going, oh, this doesn't sound as good. Is there something wrong with these speakers? And I started getting a bit worried. And then I thought, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Instead of just playing my new speaker stands, because I bought them, you know, second hand, let's get my old speaker stands back. Excuse me. These ones. I don't know what make these are. They got spikes there. They got spikes in the top. That's filled with stand. That's not. These speaker stands are loads better. Loads better. They make the sound like it's not coming out of the speakers more. They separate, you know, you've got the vocal, so the backing singers feel like they're further behind. Everything starts getting removed from the position of the speakers. Probably because that's filled with sand and that one isn't. But it is a case, you know, that I kind of overlooked. I just thought these Bowers and Wilkins would be as good, if not better. And it turns out these ones were better. So, you know, it's funny, you know, making progress is analytical. You've got to be analytical. You can't read it, believe it, and act on it. You've got to do the experimenting, I would say. Yeah, okay, that's probably about it. Do subscribe, please subscribe, and okay, see you next time. Bye now.